This morning, I just want to say a little prayer before we get started. Thank you for this day, this opportunity that you have given unto us. We may come, you have called and designed us to be. Father, we ask you, you will anoint these voices who will come through the airways, that they may give us the download that you have downloaded in them, that we may become better mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, families, communities, better states, better cities, better world, just for you. So we give you thanks, we give you praise. All of these and so many other blessings we have. Father, Son, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
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 Good morning.
Listen, good morning to you, Bishop. Thank you very much for that prayer. We always in need of prayer. And welcome everybody. And every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And the Seven Cities Farms of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk. I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with our co-host Leah Drake Stitz, trying to stay awake, and and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, host. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. Yes.
Good morning, Leah. I promise you, we're gonna wake you up with this show. How about that?
I know.
All right.
Sundays are my hardest nights for sleeping. I don't know why.
Yeah, and like the Carpenter song said, rainy days and Mondays always get you down.
Days and Mondays. That's
But not this Monday. Not this Monday.
Not this Monday.
We have a special guest with us, and we have here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk, we have a former resident or a fellow that was born and raised here in the city of Portsmouth. If you watch some of our other videos, you know we like to bring people back that were born and raised in the city of Portsmouth and see what they're doing where they are now. And we have Mr. Larry Gist. Got that right. Mr. Larry Gist is our guest. You know, I said that because you all watch, you know I mess up names. And if I didn't know him for ever, you know, we grew up together, I probably would have said Larry Geist. But he's Larry Gist, and he's from here, IC Northam grad, and attended Norfolk State, and a veteran, Army veteran. And now he resides in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and he's president of, or has been president for a while, unless you let him, he'll let us know how long, of the Fort Wayne NAACP. And we wanted to bring him here and have a conversation with him about what's going on there and how similar it is to what's going on here in the city of Portsmouth and the rest of the United States. But first, I want to tell this story about when the family was growing up. Their dad, you know, I guess this was in the late 60s. And, you know, President Kennedy opened it up for where we could live as black folks anywhere we wanted to. So his dad said, okay, I mean, I've worked hard. Let me move my family out into the suburbs, you know, in the white community. Boy, they weren't ready for that. They bombed the house. After they found the house and was about to move in, they bombed his house. And I guess that was a message say, well, we're not ready. We're not ready.
So you're ready.
Tell us a little bit.
Not only did they bomb it once, they bombed it twice. Because my
Twice, yeah.
He was determined to move in that house.
I remember that he was. They did it one time, and everybody thought, okay, that's it. And then we were surprised that he said, "Well, I'm still going because it's my right." But that second time, I guess family came first, you know, because he had 3 boys, he had a wife, and you know. But talk a little bit about that situation because and how old were you at that time, and how did that affect you going forward?
I think I was like 6 or 7 years old. And that really affected me a lot because, you know, you're not knowing hatred in the beginning before it happened, or why were they really even doing that, you know, because, you know, hatred wasn't really taught in our household. But when that bombing happened, you know, that's when you finally, because you're listening to the adults speaking on, you know, about white folks doing this and white folks doing that. And not knowing that, you know, we weren't allowed to even be there, or they didn't want us out there. And that was the way to show us that they didn't want us there. So the third time, my dad said, as long as I got insurance, we're going to keep building. So when they attempted to build it the third time, that's when they said, well, we'll just wait till you move in. because it seemed like y'all hard-headed.
Mhm.
So that's when my mother told my father, said, you can move out there, but me and the boys now.
Yeah, and you know, it's so amazing. They were willing to, I'll just say it, they were willing to kill y'all to keep y'all from coming out there. Because
That
they
is so
said, you know,
true.
they said it point blank, we're gonna wait till y'all move in and see if y'all get the message this time, you know.
Right.
And so that was a threat on your life. And just to be sure, where was that? Was that like Deep Creek for people that know
That
the
was
area?
over there off of George Washington Highway, George Washington Military Highway, over in that
Oh,
section.
look, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
So
called Deep Creek. Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's different out there now, but I mean that was amazing, and I can see how that could affect you, even at that young age, because I think we talked before, and you said growing up, it made you kind of hate white folks, and your parents,
It,
you know, tried to make an effort to put you in a situation where you'd be around them, so you could make your own decision about that without that hate in your mind.
well, you know, back in that when everybody else went to Clark, my parents made me go to Hunt, Harry Hunt.
Hair
Huh?
Hunt.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they
and that
made
was
me go to Harry Hunt
predominantly
because
white school.
when we used to sit around the table, and I used to tell my father, you know, when he would say, ask us how was our day, I say, I had a great day today. I had a good day today. And he'll say, well, why was your day so great? I ain't seen no white folks all day today. So back then, that was a good day for me. You know, I'm serious. I mean, because I didn't do, you know, like cowboys and westerns, all that kind of stuff, because I didn't like that, you know. So
You know, you made.
so they made me
Go
go
ahead.
to Hunt and thought that was going to change my ways, but it didn't at that time. So
You
when
know,
they
you
went,
made it. You made a good point there when you said you all was sitting around the table, and see that's where that conversation started within the family. You know, because they wouldn't have known how you feel unless you all were sitting around the table having discussions like that, and they said, "Okay, we got to do something with this boy and
yeah,
let him see some other things before he grows up in life just hating white folks in general." You know, without having the chance to at least interact with them. Might not have changed your mind, but at that time, but at least you had been exposed to that.
that's
So how
true.
did that go? How did that go?
Well,
Being at
I
Harry
remember when they tried to put me in a play, Huckleberry Finn, right? And they wanted me to play
What part
Jim.
did you play?
I said, I'm not playing Jim. I want to play Huck. So
Yeah, that's
that was a play they didn't let me participate in.
yeah.
But one thing won't
So,
happen because Huckleberry Finn is banned now.
How about
Is it?
that?
yeah. And
Yeah.
before we go any further, I'll let the colonel do his disclaimer that we always do from the
Yeah,
beginning of the show.
put this disclaimer out there, keep us out of Facebook jail. But the views listed on the or stated on this program are those of the host and the guests, and not of the radio station. So now we got that off our chest. And so yes, we are correct that you'll never have a shot at playing Huckleberry Finn, because that is now banned by the Confederates of the country now. So don't worry about playing it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you think that
Well, you made a good choice. Go
do you
ahead,
think that those
Leah.
do you think that the situations that happened in your life led you to where you are today with NAACP, or were there other factors that led you to get active and involved in the NAACP?
Well, what happened was after I joined the Army, right? And that, which was a shock to my father, being the type of person I was, right? He said the Army not gonna work for you, you know.
Mhm.
But that's when I realized that all white folks weren't the same. It was
Mhm.
some good white folks in the country, you
Mhm.
know. So I said, wow, good gracious. I mean, after you start meeting people
Mhm.
coming from the Hampton Roads area, we knew how that was back then. So anyway, that's when I realized it was I can get along with them.
Mm-hmm.
So after I went through my stint in the Army, you know, some of my friends, good friends, were white, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially being in the field that I was in, you know, wasn't too many blacks in that field. So, you know, that's what I had to deal with at that time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So after I got out, you know, I came back home for a little while. Then I got me a job over here in Indiana. And then what I was doing, what I'm doing in the NAACP, I was doing even prior to that. You know, I was helping peoples out because it was a lot. When I came here, it wasn't like the 15,000 blacks here in the city. And I was like, what in the world did I get myself into? So anyway, the challenges were still here. But when I retired, that's when I got really, really involved with the NAACP.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I when I retired, I didn't have nothing else to do. So I just asked the Lord, what am I supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the path I went down. And I've
Okay,
been doing that since about 2010.
and so you've been the president for how long now?
This is my, I did it for 6 years, and then I took a 2-year break because I lost my election.
Oh,
And then I came back 2 years ago, so I've been back ever since.
okay,
So,
okay.
yeah.
And have you had any interesting cases out there in
Well,
Indiana?
yes, we had a hanging here of a youth. That's how I got involved with the hate crime bill. We had a young man that was left for dead, but he didn't die. And they found the person that did it, or the group of kids that did it, and they weren't like charged with a hate crime because we didn't have a hate crime bill, so you can't charge them with a hate crime. So we started the hate crime bill here, and with some of the senators at the state legislature. And what I did was take the family to the state house so that they could speak, so people could actually see a family that had this done to them. And you should have seen some of the people that was in the audience. They said, "Oh, I didn't know nothing like this even happened."
Wow.
You know, I'm in Indiana. I said, "What?"
Hanging?
So, you know, the hate crime bill did not pass. So anyway, then now a couple of years ago they did pass a hate crime bill, but it don't mean nothing. It's up to a judge to determine if it was a hate crime or not. So we had a young man to get killed here locally, and he was targeted by a white man, and he was beaten to death in a Walmart parking lot.
Wow.
And during the day. So he was never charged with a hate crime, but he did get 85 years.
Wow.
But you know, but that took a lot to push that, you know. So and you know, those are a few other, you know, one of many.
So and actually, they're keeping you busy out there in Indiana with the NAACP.
It does. You know, just like right now, I say my main focus right now is on the public defender's office not doing their job. You know, and that affects more blacks than it does white, because a lot of whites, they can afford their own lawyers. If you get a lawyer here, you know, and like I said, if they already incarcerated in jail waiting for trial, then you don't get to see your lawyer until you go to court.
Yeah, that's
I mean, what kind of defense you gonna put up, you know? So that's something we haven't changed now. Matter of fact, next month y'all should come out here because I'm having a panel with all the public defenders here locally, plus the state commission is gonna be invited to come down because you know, it's an issue. And then it's not an issue just here in Fort Wayne. Just so happened my branch, the one I handles, people from around the country, they call on us. So I've done cases in Michigan, I've done cases in Ohio, and it was under the same format. We had a young man, he was charged with 2 attempted counts of murder, right? They gave him a $500,000 bail, and went to see his public defender. And you know, first thing he told me, I got 200 other cases. What you want me to do?
Wow. So they're overloaded with cases and don't have enough public defenders to handle the load that they have.
But when we got finished with it, you know what he got? 7 months out of 50 years.
Wow.
But they had to charge him with the knife, but it was all self-defense. But it was 2 white boys that he stabbed.
Uh-huh.
But it was self-defense. But they was gonna give him 50 years to life. You know, but if we didn't stick with it, he probably would have got that time.
Yeah, so just goes to show that it's good to have someone who's involved who can advocate on your behalf, especially if the public defenders are not doing what they're supposed to do for you. So it's kind of bad when you're locked up and you don't have anyone to come to even talk to you about your case prior to your going to court. And as you said, that has happened all across this nation.
That's true.
And that's why our jails are full with people who look like us.
There's a lot of us in there that are innocent, but it's still a lot of there that are guilty too. You know,
exactly.
There's a lot more in there that's innocent, or they shouldn't get the amount of time that they receive because they didn't have the proper defense.
Right.
Yeah, even if they're guilty, they're entitled to a proper defense.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can be guilty of something, and your conviction or your charge exceeds the actual crime that you did. So that's why they also need good representation, even if they were guilty. You have some people in there. So good job. But go ahead, Colonel. I know you would give it a step in there.
Well, I used to recruit out of Indiana, and I call it always going behind enemy lines. And, so now that I've said that, and so you can draw inferences to that. But what you just talked about, the public defenders, and that is across this nation, and it underscores the differences, or underscores the fact that we have two different justice systems. And that young brother was getting ready to get railroaded.
Mm-hmm.
He got 7 months, but he also has a felony that he cannot vote in that state anymore for the rest of his life. So he's a second-class citizen no matter what for the rest of his life. So his recidivism rate will go up because he can't really get a job when he gets out after 7 minutes. So you have to be careful with that. We have to look at all that.
But see, where in Indiana, that law is not the same. Now, once you done your time, you get your voting rights back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's automatic. It's automatic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. That's good. Well, in most states, you don't, especially in the Confederate states, red states.
Right.
So, you with the NAACP, your 2 Confederate senators there, Todd Young and Mike Braun, do they ever reach out to you and talk to you, or do they know your phone number?
Okay, let me. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite phrases. Did a bear?
Oh, does a bear do it in the woods?
Did a bear?
So I guess the answer is no.
And
No.
I expected that, because they act like that too. They think that everybody is subservient to them. Any people of color subservient to them, and they have been anti-American, anti-people of color since they've been in the Senate. And I don't know how y'all got put them up. Well, I know why you put them up there.
Wait. This is a red state, okay?
Well, that's why you're part of the Confederacy, but it's okay. And that's why I say you're behind enemy lines. So you just keep doing that. Keep doing what you're doing. That insurgency that you're doing is good if you can save a few people. And so yes. So I'll end on that. I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, Larry, I guess Indiana considered Midwest. Is it considered Midwest?
Yes, the Midwest.
Okay. Now, that's because people don't always realize that those Midwest states, or a lot of people like the Colonel, a lot of other people know it's a red state, but people just don't imagine hangings and hate crimes, because it doesn't come up in the national news like I mean, well, if it does, it's not paid attention to like something happened in Mississippi because people expect that. And you might even be safer in Mississippi in some areas than some places in the Midwest where the good old boys are still out there doing their thing.
Well,
Well,
let me correct you. There's nothing safe for Black folks in Mississippi. They are still under assault. Okay.
I stand corrected. I stand corrected, Colonel.
Yes.
what was that show we watching?
You see why we do the disclaimer? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see. Well, you know, we up, you know, we still up here like near Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis. You know, that's all still considered the Midwest. And you know, the matter of fact, if you you know, like in Virginia, the blacks, they migrated from North Carolina to South Carolina, from South Carolina up that way. Now this end, Midwest, I don't know how they chose this. They came up from Alabama.
That's right,
and
Mississippi.
They come
That's
up
right.
this way. You know, so every black family here, they got some parts to do with Alabama. I mean, I know more people from Alabama than the law allowed because they all migrated from Alabama. You know, matter of fact, even my wife, she from Alabama.
What part of Alabama is she from? Where is she? What part of Alabama is she from?
Marion Junction.
Okay, all right.
About Selma.
About Selma, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because and I'm glad you own it because most people think of Indiana, they think about the Jackson 5, the Colts, and the Pacers, you know, and sports things. They don't really think about all the things that are really going on there and the need for the NAACP and other groups like that. Because you talked about trying to create a coalition of the groups to create a stronger force in fighting some of these issues. Talk a little bit about what you've been doing with trying to bring these groups together.
We collaborating with different organizations, you know, like the NAACP, the Martin Luther King Club, the Masonic Temples, and now we're getting the churches involved, the Divine Nine. So, like I say, strength is in power. So the more organizations you have, you know, instead of fighting against each other, we come together in forces. You know, like when we have an event, everybody had an event on the same day, but nobody was coordinating together. That you got an event, I got an event, and we supposed to share all the wealth together. So now, you know, we just put a big calendar together so everybody know what every other organization is doing. You know, it's collaboration. So we don't want to be fighting against each other. We want to join forces together.
Yeah, that's one of our main problems, and I wanted you to say that, and hope other people listening can, you know, just sit back and think about how powerful that would be if people just come together. And sometimes you have to put the egos at the door. You know, sometimes you have presidents of these organizations that don't want to, you know, share that kind of attention or power per se. But you know, we are almost in a war. You know, and it's going to take warriors to fight these battles. You know, so hopefully you're successful in bringing those groups together, and that can happen here in Portsmouth and as well as other jurisdictions.
Well, you know, just like the COVID shots, you know, we went door to door, you know, especially in the we call it the south side of town.
There's always a south side.
Always a south side.
For the majority of the blacks live there. We went door to door, and we provided transportation. We provided food. If you come get the shot, you get a full meal. We provided transportation to and from. And gift cards. They got gift cards. If you had a family of 5, you got the gift cards went for $10, but Kroger's donated to the gift cards. And if you had a family of 5, that means you got $50 worth of gift cards. You know, we even did gas cards. We provided transportation. We had limo. Matter of fact, we even pick you up in a limo. For those who wanted to come get the shots, and then we had food. We had chicken and rib dinners out there available, and we had sandwiches. So it was a good turnout. We joined forces with this organization called Super Shot, which provided all the shots for the people, and the plus you was able to get the flu shot, the booster shots and just the first timers getting the first shot. So it was a good turnout. We did this for like several days, and then after that, and we did this with different organizations. We joined forces together. You know, like I belong to most of them. So I got I have a T-shirt with.
That's what happens when you retire. Then you can take time to belong to all those organizations.
I have a T-shirt with all the symbols on my T-shirt.
Yeah.
So I had to wear all my colors.
Yeah.
But anyway, we continue doing that. Now we're go to barbershops on Saturdays. And we hit the peoples up for, you know, this getting a haircut and asked them had they had the shot. Now we offered them the shots right there on the spots. And I remember the first time I did this man was in his barber chair and he was refusing to get the shot, right? He was getting all trimmed up and they laid the chair back to trim his beard up. And I said, man, you know, you already casket ready. Don't get the shot. You know, so he said, "Oh man, don't do me like that." So he did get the shot. And I said, "You casket ready already."
That woke him up. Look, before we go on, before we go further, we'll be going off the radio at 7, but we'll continue the conversation with Larry Guest here on Facebook Live. And I'd like to say thanks to the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM on your dial. And I'd like to say this before we go off the air, because I want to thank all the people that contributed to the Reverend Joe B. Fleming's Scholarship Fund on behalf of the Mary Red Hampton Roads chapter of Virginia Union University. We raised $25,000 plus in 90 minutes on our virtual show. And I know it was attributed to the respect that Reverend Joe Fleming has and his love for Virginia Union. He went there to the seminary. So I want to thank all the people that participated, and you still can participate in that because we talked about endowments in our colleges. So what we raise is going to add to the endowment of Virginia Union University. And once the endowment is there, it's there forever. And scholarships are given a percentage of the interest that's gained there. So you can still give by going to the Virginia Union University website and hit donate, and then pull up Reverend Joe B. Fleming's Scholarship Fund and still donate and help us out. And also donate to your HBCUs of choice. We have to make sure that we support our HBCUs. Thank you. I had to throw that in. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on and we'll go off the air. They'll take us off the air, but we'll still be on Facebook Live. So we'll move on. And we're here with Larry Guest, former Portsmouth resident who was born and raised here, of course, and now lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I think, didn't you, when you first went to Indiana, weren't you somewhere called Turtle Creek?
That was an apartment complex I lived in.
I remember when you went there, you know, I said, because you told me you were in Turtle Creek, I said, oh my goodness, that sounds like the southern part of Indiana. But anyway, we have Larry Guest here, and he's now president of the NAACP at Fort Wayne and doing a lot of things there. So we're having a conversation with him this morning, and we really appreciate you accepting our invitation, Larry, to be here. And you're kind of back home in Portsmouth virtually.
That is true.
James, it's important that we make note that Mr. Gist grew up in the Truxton community, and that Mr. Gist,
and Prentice Park,
portion of his life from the Truxton community, and Prentice Park, and that Mr. Gist is also an IC Norcom graduate. From which class, Mr. Gist?
72.
From the class of 72. So Mr. Gist is, and also in talking with Mr. Gist when he came on at 5:45 this morning.
That's that military. That's that military.
I learned that Mr. Gist, I was asking him if his mother, Mrs. Gist, was she a hairstylist? And indeed she was. And Mrs. Gist used to do my mother's hair. I used to take my mother to her beauty salon to get her hair done. So there's a little connection here going on here on the radio this morning. Yeah.
That's where I
So,
got my hairstyle from.
yes, you did.
Yeah.
She did a fabulous job in preparing you for not having to go to the beauty salon. Okay.
Well, Larry, she did your hair. That's not a good promotion there for her,
Well, you know what? You
because you
know,
don't
back in
have
the
any.
day, back in the day, we had the best jerry curlers around.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh yes.
yeah, I had them too.
But one thing I want to
It,
get
it,
back to, Mr. Gist, is that you talk about the power of collaboration. And it's important that we learn to collaborate with each other. However, sometimes with organizations, egos get into the way and each one is concerned as to which one is going to get more credit. How did you get these, or well, I know you say you belong to most of them, but how did you get them to come together to work together, which is extremely important?
All right. When I started this, we had a lot of gang shootings, right? And I brought all the different groups together for a press release. And so just out of the tip of my head, people was asking, how can we fix this? So when I was being interviewed, I said, well, okay, what you need to do is join my gang. And that just came off the top of my head. And gang was the Urban League, the NAACP, the churches, the Unity Choir. So I had all these different organizations here. So then that's how that got established. And then we had came up with the name of gang standing for giving anyone needed guidance. That's what gang stands for, giving anyone needed guidance. So when we sat down at the table, I said, well, this is a round table. No one's going to be in charge. Everybody's going to be on the same level and the same playing field. Because, once you get somebody being a dictator, it's going to be over with.
Yeah.
So that's how it got established. Even we had to bring the churches together in that same format. Not to speak about the churches, but I had a meeting years ago with some different pastors, and I come to find out they wouldn't participate at that time because first thing they said, I didn't think of it, and I'm not in charge. So I'm like, that's what I left with the meeting with. But after I got finished with, now we all work together.
Oh, well, good. That's good. That's good. Now, and you said you had a lot of gang violence. Has that decreased in Fort Wayne, or?
Well, we don't have as much. Most of ours, we still have a lot of shootings, but most of our shootings right now are domestic related.
Okay.
It's not particularly gang related. Because at one time we had tit for tat. You shot my friend, now I'm gonna go shoot you. So now we kind of got that resolved, and then I work real closely with the police department. So anytime they have a raid or whatever, they let me know that they can do this. And that because the first thing to do, the parents going to reach out to me and say, well, my son was arrested, he was mistreated and so forth. But how many guns did your son have? So a few weeks ago, just before Easter, we had this big raid, and they took all these guns off the street, and they think that's making a difference. But one more bad thing about this whole scenario is we just passed, Indiana just passed a law that everyone can have a gun without a gun permit, starting July the 1st. So we're thinking that's going to be going to start increasing the violence, because now everybody can, if you don't have a felon legally, if you don't have a felon, you can carry a gun or you have illness. So we think that's going to open up more doors for people to be have accessible to guns, because if you got to go get a gun, they give you opportunity to think about it. But if you already got one on you, the chances of you using it is more severe. So that's gonna make a difference. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. Just following the other red states that are making it easier for people to get guns, which is kind of strange to me because, we having all this gun violence and to make it easier at a point where we trying to have gun reform, ownership reform. And Larry, I know, and you and the Colonel, I know, y'all are gun owners. So, it's all about being responsible gun owners and having those checks. Those background checks on people. It's a lot of people walking around that don't need to have a firearm anywhere near them because of some mental issues or something like that. Go ahead.
But still, on that same note, that this is going to be catch-22, because you still have to go through the federal mandate to purchase a gun legally. You know, so I don't, you know, so now it's going to be a lot of illegal guns on the streets because every time they can hire, they're not going to be able to go purchase one because they still got to go through that background check, federal background check.
And that's where they're going to get you. See, you know, the Confederate states are out there doing this. And yes, you can have a gun, but I'm still going to arrest you. So I got my gun permit, shot weapons all my life. But if I walk out of here and I walk beside my partner here that's got a white guy that's next there, I have more chance of the cops taking me down. Or I walk in the store, they're gonna call the cops on me. Where he can walk in and walk in Walmart and walk through all this stuff and like lickety split, nothing happening. Me, they're calling the cops on me saying that black guy is gonna shoot or gonna get ready to rob the store. So there is a catch-22 to everything. Because
that is true.
Yes, and so we can't keep our, you know, we can't turn a blind eye on the secondary effects of all these Confederate laws that are coming up.
You know, I have to ask this. Every once in a while, I hear a harmonica or something start getting ready to play. Is that coming from you, Gets? Because after I heard that harmonica, I'm waiting for a banjo. Wait, I'm waiting for a banjo to come up and hear some of that down home Mississippi music. What is that? That kind of music in Indiana?
That's the blues. It's not no Mississippi.
That sounds like one of the good old boys songs getting ready to start.
Let me tell you that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. I just, when I heard that, I said, oh, man.
When I get a message or anything, that's how I let me know. That's the blues. That's not one of the good old boys songs.
Oh, okay. And just let it play a little bit more, because when I first heard it, it sounded like, oh, well, here come the banjos now. But
the down home blues.
Yes,
down home blues.
Larry, I do have a question for you.
Go ahead, Colonel.
Yeah, I do have a question for you. So when you first went to Indiana, you stated there was about 15,000 blacks in your town that I guess that had migrated up from, you know, I'll metaphor this, migrated from Alabama. Your wife came with them in that, and so she got you. So how's the membership for the NAACP compared to non-membership? You got a percentages and how large?
Well, we have about, honestly, we got maybe about 400 on the book now. Okay. Because of the you know, when people see that you're doing something, you know, it makes a difference. They want to be part of it. So you know, we don't expose everything that we do, because you know is you know HIPAA law. But we do help a lot of people out, and a lot of people, you know, they tell their friends that the NAACP did this and the NAACP did that. So we got a lot of people that also, you know, people come to the NAACP just to seek help. But one thing this branch does, we do an investigation on everyone that come in, right? Whatever your cause is. We just don't jump the fence and say, bam, bam, you know, you was wrong. I had a young man come to me a few years ago, and he said he got fired because he was black. But once we did the investigation, I said, homie, you got fired for not coming to work. That's why you got fired. Okay? So, I mean, you know, you have to do your homework regardless of whatever the issues may be, you know.
And you know, Mr. Gist, and regretfully, there are a lot of people within our community who feel that the time has come and gone for the NAACP. They think that there is not a need for the NAACP anymore, but they're living in a glass house until someone throws a rock at that house. Then they see the need for the NAACP. So how do you address those individuals who think that the time has come and gone for the NAACP?
Well, you know what? I have people like that, absolutely. And then something happened in their life, and they come to the NAACP, and we help get it resolved. You know, like I'm just using this for a small example. I had a young lady. She bought a vehicle, and the vehicle was a lemon. and they wouldn't give her money back. And all I had to do was go in there and let them know, I got 9 million people backing me, right? So they wrote her a check. They gave her money back. But then she said, well, Larry, okay, I'm gonna join the NAACP. Now I ain't seen that lady since. but it's just the word of mouth. The NAACP is still doing their thing, and they still are focused in some of the things that they've done. Just like we was instrumental with the judge, the new judge, the Supreme Court judge.
Yeah, Katanji.
We still focus. Matter of fact, we even have our convention. We haven't had a convention in 3 years due to the pandemic. But we're gonna be in Atlantic City this year, and Larry will be there too.
And I'm glad to see that you say that you don't just jump on issues without first investigating before you come forth to address those issues. And that's most important, because that's where your credibility come into play, Yeah,
I'm gonna use this for another prime example. We had a young man that was found hung in his pickup truck. He was traveling from, I forget what state he came from. But anyway, the first thing they did was that the police hung him. Right? I mean, we even had auditors come out, I'm not gonna call the artist's name, that said that that's what happened. And they found him in the back of the trailer part of the truck, right? So once I did my investigation, working with the police department, even though they said the police department was the one that did this, come to find out, he left a video, right? He hung himself. But see how that got out, And so the family wanted to come here because they thought the police was, and they did call me, and I told them, well, y'all can come, but do not bring the girlfriend, because if you bring the girlfriend, she ain't going back with y'all. Because that's why he hung himself.
Oh, wow.
But the first thing they did was that the Fort Wayne policemen hung this young man, But that's why I say you have to do your homework before you go out and jump the gun. Because I will do my homework before I say, well, we're gonna start, I'm just using this term, start a race ride.
Yeah.
Larry, you mentioned something, probably something that some local NAACP chapters don't do. Use the strength of the whole, like you say, I got millions of people backing me, as far as the total NAACP nationwide rather, and they don't use that as part of their, exhibiting their power. Local, and then they end up not getting the total respect from whites or blacks in their localities, not using that strength or the history of that organization and what they have done, outside of their localities and what can happen there, And so that's an example. They should take something out of your playbook and use that whole national scene to show the strength of the NAACP.
Well, we have a strong organization statewide here in Indiana, even though a lot of chapters are small. But we have matter of fact, last weekend we had our state quarterly meeting. We got over 17 branches throughout the state, which is spread it all the way across. So in each city got their own jurisdiction. So you got to go to do the outreach thing. But we are really one of the active states in the United States. Our membership is like third throughout the country. I'm talking about the state of Indiana. So that's next to New York. Well, that ain't too bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
That means
Pretty good.
means you're doing something right.
Right.
Yes.
And then plus my wife is the secretary. Come here, wife, so they can see.
It's a family affair.
My wife is not only my secretary, not only my secretary, but she's the state too.
Oh, state secretary. How are you, Ms. Giss?
I am awesome. How about you guys?
Wonderful. Welcome to Portsmouth Coffee
We're
Talk.
Thank you. Thank you guys for inviting Larry to be part of this collaboration. It's awesome that he can go across the world and be right here at home.
All right. That's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing.
And I love you guys. I've been there a couple times.
Oh,
I'm
good.
looking forward to coming back again.
Well, wonderful. Well, we're looking for you coming back, and we're also looking forward to when he comes back, he brings us some of that either fresh lamb or fresh barbecue that he was talking to me about earlier this morning, you know. So he told me, he said his meat is always fresh because he goes to the Amish and they're slaughtered right there. So
Yes,
we are going
ma'am.
yes, so we look forward to tasting some of that barbecue. I guess he does the Kansas style, I mean the Indiana style barbecue, right?
Well, now I still got the Virginia twist.
There you go. That's good. That's good. Keep that Virginia twist going. That's what
Yeah,
makes
he
you so
like
popular in Indiana is that you
That,
use
that
the
is
Virginia
true.
twist.
Yeah.
yeah, he likes to get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and fire up that big old huge grill and smoke up the neighborhood. And my neighbor said the big cat gonna come and take some of that food off of that grill.
Well, you know, that's really good. I told James, I said, I'm not used to the guests coming on so early in the morning, but I get up and I turned it on at 5:15. And I looked up, I said, lo and behold, I said, oh my goodness, Mr. Guest is already up here. So
He don't like to be late.
well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
You
So
guys have a wonderful day. I'm getting ready to make my day out of the house so he can enjoy his own space and I can enjoy mine.
thank you, darling. Nice meeting you. Oh
Nice
my
meeting-
goodness. Take care now.
Yeah. Well, I lost my thought there. Let's see what was I going to say. You don't often see black love on display. They always want to show us fighting and doing
Oh
things
no,
like that.
we don't do that.
Yeah,
We do
that's
that.
what gets all the views.
Look, we kiss going and coming.
All right.
Yeah,
Now.
that's what get all the views on social media. But we should show more black love because there's a whole lot of it out there. Larry, I want to ask you this. You growing up in Portsmouth, and you talked about in the beginning of the show what your family experienced in the 60s about trying to integrate and how those people said we weren't having it. And, and you grew up and hating white people, but then had to be exposed to them. And then the military showed you a different side of what you had thought in your mind. And then being around Portsmouth in general and seeing things how they were back then in the 70s when we were in high school and things. But here we are now in 2022, and you think back on what was going on in the 70s, and you think we would have progressed a little more than we have now. So what do you feel? I mean, I guess most of the things over the years just been suppressed, but now, it's kind of resurfacing and, it's groups like the NAACP and other groups that are really needed now. And Leah mentioned about some people saying NAACP is outdone his purpose, but no, that's not true. So how do you feel about what's going on now today compared to how we thought we were making strides from the 70s up to now?
Well, history repeats itself. So I think
Yeah.
we're going back to a repeated stage now. Especially after Donald Trump was in office, and you saw how hatred really got exposed once again. Even though you got more came out of the woodwork now, that were hidden. But since he was the president, they still coming out. So they say, well, if he's the president and he can be a racist, so can we. And we don't have to hide it no more. Just like the incident that happened June the 6th at the Capitol building. Now, I was at all the Million Man March, and we never tore nothing up. I had a little paper in the yard, or left a little trash, but we didn't tear nothing up, because if you remember back then, I remember the snipers of being on the tall buildings. You could see the snipers out there when we had the Million Man March, but they didn't have one disturbing. But when they had the June 6th, you couldn't even find a police officer per se.
Because in their minds, these were peaceful citizens.
Right.
Tourists.
Yeah, tourists.
They were tourists from all over the Haiti,
cities.
like the Colonel say from the Confederate States.
But like you said, if we congregated like that, definitely law enforcement would have been in riot gear, ready to take us on if we had come to the Capitol like that. And even in peaceful times when we've come to the Capitol, because that was indicated when the guy was in office, and because he wanted to take a picture holding a Bible upside down, they brought the riot folks out, squad out to come against those blacks who were peacefully protesting
Right,
in
right,
Washington. So there's a
right.
difference. There is a
It is.
difference.
So, time has not really changed to be truthful. It's still there.
Yes.
Just like when I first moved to Indiana, I had thought I had left all that down south,
Mhm.
but when I moved here, I said, wow, they don't even hide it here. They let you know,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
You remember the KKK started here in Indiana,
that's right. That's
a place
right.
called Terre Haute.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it got started at. So,
Mhm.
that's what one thing Indiana is known for is the beginning of the KKK.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know
So,
what? I will always say that the question was is the irrelevancy of organizations like the NAACP. I've always said that we will need another civil rights movement to get us through this Trumpism and what he brought to this nation, because the Confederates in of this country want to not just change things. They want to take us back to the 50s. And they will if we allow them to do it. I think Leo mentioned the Supreme Court justice that's coming up.
Katanja.
Yes, Judge
Yes.
Brown. And I just want to say that your two senators, Todd Young and Mike Braun, also voted against her.
they're not my senators. They
They represent you. They represent you. So
I guess.
yeah, you're and then so but it brings us back to the point that Indiana, and the data was released, and I think some voting data in 2014 said that Indiana was dead last in the country for turnout, and only 28% of the folks, registered voters, voted. And it's been like that over time. So with such a small voting percentage, and we don't vote the way we should do all across the nation, if you should look at and get those organizations that you collaborate to get out here and get these folks off the couch to vote, you might be able to flip one or two of these, get these Confederates out of office and shock the world. Because Obama shocked the world. He carried Indiana, I believe, right?
Who's that now? I missed that.
Obama.
You said he carried Indiana.
Did he carry Indiana?
No.
No, he didn't. No, I'm sorry. He got close.
Right, he got close. Right.
He got close. But if these folks come out and vote, you might be able to flip and get one of these Confederates out.
But you know what? The most ironic part about this whole scenario is what you just said. I don't know your affiliation, but I used to think all black people are supposed to be Democrats, right? Mm-hmm. So I am a Democrat, but I come to find out that's not a true statement. And then you find out a lot of black people, they were still for Trump. You can look at that. I used to say, where those people that's in the background when Trump is speaking, were they paid to be standing up there, or they were an advocate for Donald Trump? So if you really listen to something, I don't know how it is out there for the Republicans, black Republicans there in Virginia, but here, man, it's ugly, man. I had said something the other day to a man. He wanted to meet another person that's running for office, and I said, he's a Republican, right? And he said, oh yeah, like, I look at the man, I don't look at the, And then when I told someone else about that, they said, Larry, he a Republican. I said, what? No wonder he answered the question.
but Larry, and what you
He was a Republican himself.
in as much
right.
as Tim Scott showed us about Black Republicans when he was justifying all this critical race theory that does not exist in the elementary level. He's justifying them taking the books off the shelves. He's justifying them taking math books out because of certain language in math books. But it just shows you how they buy hook, line, and sinker
Right.
into the things that these people are saying and doing as far as our people are concerned. But they justify the things that they do.
Right.
Well, you know what? If you go back, even in the movies, go back to the movie Django. The butler that played there.
Right.
Yeah,
Samuel
there are a
Jackson.
whole bunch of them out here in politics. Tim Scott's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got them all across the nation. They'll do anything to say, to get their, they'll sell us down for not even getting the 40 pieces of silver, just to say, I got some power. And they sell us down the river, and they sell their families down the river because they don't care.
True.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't even get the best when they're looking for black candidates. They don't even get the best. They just get somebody like Herschel Walker. And I'm a Dallas fan. They get somebody like Herschel Walker and put him out there because of his football fame. And they don't care what comes out of his mouth. They just look at this. They just want this out there. And we fall. Some of us fall for it.
Can't string two sentences together, you know. So
Herschel Walker has no right. Well, he has a right to run, but he has no business being in the Senate. He has no business being anywhere in elective office.
I'll tell you what, the folks that they have endorsed, if we sit at home and we sit on our laurels and we sit back and say, well, it's okay. Those people who have been endorsed by the man who was once in the White House, if they get in, you will not see democracy again. Democracy will not exist.
Yes.
True. I like to say this too, that here in the city of Portsmouth, we just had a 420th festival that leading up to it was surrounded by controversy, and I like to say congratulations to the organizers and the sponsors, which Senator Lucas was one of the big sponsors, and Jermaine Green, who's one of the organizers, who is our guest's son. And it turned out to be, I mean, they got all from black and white. They got a lot of flack from, because we've had crime problems here in the city of Portsmouth, as well as other cities in Hampton Roads. They thought it was going to be, wouldn't be successful. It would be violence all around it, in and around it. And it turned out to be a 2-day festival. It's called it 420th, this Unity Festival, to bring people together. And it did bring a lot of black people together, and showed some people here in the city of Portsmouth that we can come together. It's not all about, anytime we come together, it's going to be a shootout. It's a small percentage of the people that's creating that kind of crime here in the city of Portsmouth. And you have a lot of groups like the NAACP and Martin Luther King Steering Committee and churches and other groups that are working, trying to resolve that and looking for the root of the problem, which is where they need to start, and trying to solve that part of it. But I'm glad that they showed that we can do something, and it brought some attention. It was some big names that they brought in. It's not people that I'm really familiar with. I know Rick Ross and Shaggy, but they had these these people that come in town, and I think it's bringing some national attention. And like Jermaine said, it's not all about making a profit. It's about bringing attention to the city of Portsmouth, and letting people know that you can come here and we can do something in order to promote the city. And they have plans for bringing it back next year. I just hope in between time we have a Jazz on the Lawn thing in the city of Portsmouth for some of us more mature people that will be in lawn chairs. But I just had to bring that up and congratulate them for a successful 2-day festival that a lot of people. I was in support of it in the beginning. I had my doubts as it was going along, because we didn't see anything happening, and wondering, would this come together? but I was still confident in watching Jermaine every day, talk about what what they were doing and how they were processing this thing, and it turned out to be pretty good.
And
Well,
understand, Larry, not only Jermaine was involved, but you said your other son was the photographer, and your daughter
my
was
daughter,
selling
my
T-shirts.
two daughters was out there. They was selling. One was doing photography, and the other one was selling
It's two
shirts.
daughters.
Right.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Talking with Jermaine prior to the event, he knew it was going to be a struggle, but he was determined to make that work and be as peaceful as it's turned out to be.
And it was
I
very
was
peaceful.
And that's a good thing, so that people can come together and work together and keep it peaceful. So matter of fact, we're talking about bringing it out here.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And even another thing to that point, we always talk about the Black communities and economic, how we have to rise economically. And as far as the community surrounding that, a lot of people made some money for people parking in their yard. I mean,
Right.
it was like $40 and $50 to park in the yard.
I understand it was $50 pocket.
and people paid for it, and the demand is only what people are willing to pay for it. So people paid for to park, and some people bought things like you would do, Larry, bought food out in the front yard. So people in the surrounding communities made some money off that festival that weren't actual vendors that were inside. So the community benefited and things like that. So hopefully going forward, we can take a look at what it takes for us to be economically sound through things like this, and make sure we come together peacefully, and at the same time work on the issues that we have.
Well, we do it locally. We do it here where we're going to do it here because I'm on a commission of African men, and we usually have a summer festival. So we haven't had one in the last 2 years, but we're getting ready to do that again. But ours is free and it's open to the public. So the last time we did it, in Fort Wayne, we had over 10,000 people to show up in the park. And so this year, we're doing it, and it's always been a Black event, but this time we're going to do a diversity event because we do it in a public park. So we're trying to open it up so more people can be, can come out, and that because one of the sponsors, he once said a few years ago, "Why can't we all get along?" So, and he's one of the biggest sponsors, So, so this year, this is what we plan on doing. So we probably go from 10,000 to 20,000, hopefully.
And I hope that's the case with this, because this was also on public property, and I think with the success of this, and if it's if we control the narrative, of how successful it was, next time they have it, it probably will be a little more diverse. You just had some people that weren't familiar with the area, and people outside of the area just know P-Town, and
that
get
the bad history about P-Town,
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the history of all the many of the cities in Hampton Roads. But the P-Town just seems to stand out. But anyway, again, congratulations to them. And I like to say we're winding down. I'd like to say thank you, Larry Giss, for coming on and talking to us, a former Portsmouth residents. We love to have our Portsmouth residents, born and raised, to come on and talk about what they're doing in other areas of the city, because we know whatever you're doing somewhere else, that you will shape here in the city of Portsmouth. And like you said, I guess it was a God you were chosen to go out there and do what you're doing today. And we appreciate what you're doing, because it's direct reflection on, and we're Portsmouth proud of you, of our native son. We appreciate you coming on.
And it all rooted from P-Town.
All rooted from P-Town. All
and
Israel Charles Norcom High School, dear.
Yeah, and also being a member of the Imperial Psi Epsilon at IC Norton, our high school fraternity. Saeed, brother.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the invite. Hopefully we can do this again one day.
Indeed, we will. Any comments from the host closing?
I just want to thank Mr. Gist for being our guest on this morning and bringing us a wealth of information of what's going on out there in Indiana and some of the wonderful things that he's doing. And I mentioned earlier about him having fresh barbecue and lamb, and he has a catering business out there, Mr. Gist, and your catering business is called
Just us catering.
Just Us Catering. So we're gonna look for Just Us Catering to come to Virginia and bring us and let us taste and see if you're indeed cooking the best barbecue there is out there. Okay.
I
And
definitely will.
I told
Definitely
Mr. Gist I was looking for lamb to cook for Easter, but meat has gone crazy and I couldn't find a nice piece of lamb to cook. So do I have to come all the way out there to Indiana to get me a nice piece of lamb?
If you want it fresh.
One fresh lamb. Sounds good. Once again, Mr. Gist, thank you so very
Thank you.
much for coming on, and you've truly been a blessing on this Monday morning, especially for one who woke up tired this morning. But anyway, you kept me awake, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Larry, yes, Larry, I'd like to thank you for doing yeoman's work. And I know how hard it is to be operating behind the lines of the Confederacy and putting up stuff that you have to do, especially behind the lines. Your insurgency will pay off one day.
True, true.
If you can save one, then you've done something. And then so I like to thank you ahead of time.
All right, thank you.
Doing.
And Leo, I can vouch for his cooking because he used to come home every year and have a big cookout at his house and invite anybody, his strangers, friends, everybody, and we would go around there and Just Catering is the real deal.
Well, I invite him to come back. I invite him to come back. Come back home.
We're gonna do that soon.
Bring your skills with you when you come. Okay.
Hey, I even bring my own knives.
Okay. And James, before we go off, I do want to thank the faithful Facebook listeners and watchers who come on every Monday morning with us. We thank you for being so faithful and joining us. And our goal is to bring you the information as to what's going on in our community and the people who have been a part of our community. So once again, I want to thank each of you for coming on this morning. And also, I'd like to invite you to come back on Thursday evening for the evening edition of Portsmouth Coffee Talk. We're back on at 7 o'clock on Thursday evenings. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Patsy. Patsy Cavendish Hines has been here with us since day one, and she doesn't miss a
Day
Monday.
one.
So we're just so appreciative of her and all of those who have come on continuously as we prepare to give you information as to what's going on in the community and in the nation. Thank you once again for joining us. Slim?
And as Leo said, be sure to tune in Thursday at 7 p.m. And we've been focusing on HBCUs. We've had Norfolk State, we've had Virginia Union, and this week we'll be focusing on Virginia State. And speaking of Virginia State, Larry, you and I have a story about that.
We're gonna keep that one under the table.
Yeah, we better keep that one. We better keep that one close to the chest there. But anyway,
tell, huh?
some things you can't tell, maybe we'll put it in our memoirs or something like that. Okay, thanks again. We appreciate you. And
James,
Portsmouth Coffee Talk is, go ahead.
James, don't forget to mention also that they can go back later. Larry, you can tell your friends, they can go back later on YouTube. Portsmouth Coffee
on
Talk
our YouTube channel.
Our YouTube channel. Subscribe and ask your friends to join the channel so that we can grow our listeners and we can get more information out to the public.
All right, sound like a plan.
And pay your alumni dues, Mr. Gist. I'll be looking for your name. I'll be looking for your name.
It's coming. Look, I'm glad you reiterated that because I wrote it down. I'm gonna do that as soon as we get off.
Okay.
And Slim, I don't know if everybody know that. I don't know if everyone. Reggie Gist is my brother, so I don't know if y'all listen to his music.
Yeah. Give a plug for Reggie there.
Yeah, he's the one of the jazz saxophonists in Virginia. you never heard
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
that's
people around here know him because he plays at many events. So
Yeah.
Reggie Gist, the saxophonist. I wish we had the numbers where you can call him, but you can look him up. And if you need somebody, a musician for your event, like I said, a lot of people know him here in Hampton Roads and throughout Virginia, and that's also one of the Gist brothers. So. Look him up. Support our own. Support us. He's been
That's
out there
right.
for a while. He's an excellent musician, and
Uh-huh.
so support him. He's been playing. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that, man.
okay. Well, I told him
All
I'd
right.
give it.
Oh, okay. Brotherly love, boy. You can't
There
do.
you go. There
All
you
right.
go.
All right. Then Postman Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
Our community.
Our future.
Amen.
and we thank you very much. And we'll see you Thursday at 7:00 on our
Thank you.
HBCUs.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you so very
All
much.
right.
Peace.
Please.